Hello there and welcome to the Bearded Peacock. It's my channel where we talk all things Leeds United and George, of course. How's everybody doing today? It might well be Friday when you're watching this, and lead up to the weekend's game. And it's a bit of a bumper episode, this bumper video. I don't know how long it's going to last. You will now. Obviously, you will have seen on the video how long it's last. Stay with me if you want. If you don't, I'll give a run through of what we're going to speak about so you can kind of jump to what I'm going to speak about if you like. So first things first, obviously we're going to have a look at last night's game, last night's draw at home with West Ham. Then we're going to look at, of course, Matthias Klich and him leaving the club, looking like he's going to go to America. Then we are going to look a little bit at transfer rumours, and we're going to finish the video with a little preview to the FA Cup game, our trip down to Wales to take on Cardiff City. Always a bit of a grudge match, that one, isn't it? So we're going to do a quick review of that one, preview, sorry, of that one as well. So hope everybody's well and ready for the ride of this video. Whatever, yeah, ride. It'll be what it'll be. And comment down below on each of the topics. I'm interested to hear everybody's opinions, obviously, as always. So yeah, let me know. But yes, obviously Leeds. We played yesterday. We're on 17 points now. I think we're sitting in 14th position. Drew with West Ham. West Ham had coming into this one on the back of 5 straight defeats. David Moyes under intense pressure. Seemingly, I thought I was in the mindset. I'd seen some other people say it as well. I was in the mindset of him probably getting the boot, getting the sack if they lost this one. They didn't. They drew it. It's slightly better than what they have been doing. And I didn't watch it, so I'm just going to give a run through of the key points and my opinion on the key points. Let me know if you went and how we played, if you obviously watched the full game somewhere. If you didn't go, if you watched it, let me know what your thoughts were on how we played. But I think from reading and everything and looking at the highlights and stuff, we did struggle. We struggled in the second half. Obviously, first, letting in the goals at the times we didn't really help, did it? Injury time in the first half, a minute into the second half. It's not ideal, but if we wind it back to the first half and the first goal, fantastic to see Willie Gnonto on the score sheet. His first goal for the club, and what a goal it was. It's great to see it's great to see Crysencio, Somerville and Willie Gnonto and the little partnership they've got. They're developing. They've seen good mates, don't they? I know Somerville put on his social media before the game in the changing room. He sits next to Willie, doesn't he? And there with the shirts lined up ready for them to go out and impose themselves on West Ham. And that's, by the look of it, what they did. The goal was brilliant little bit of play from Somerville into Nonso, who took a touch and just flashed it past Fabianski. And he enjoyed that one, didn't he? Obviously, his best mate, Somerville, there, the first to congratulate him with, about the goal. Congratulations, I'm sure he said, for the goal. And Willie Gnonto is amongst our youngest scorers, I think, now in the Premier League. Obviously, I don't think many people will beat James Milner, will they? But who knows? Maybe one day somebody will. So, yeah, obviously, brilliant to go 1-0 up. But then, like I said, injury time, first half, it was a stonewall penalty for me. Let me know what your thoughts on it are in the comments. But for me, yeah, Strout. Catchers, is it Bowen? I think it's Bowen, isn't it? The follow-up shot goes narrowly wide. The referee brings it back to VAR, looks at it on the screen and points to the spot. And it's Paqueta who dispatches his first goal for West Ham. Stuttered, didn't he? But in the end, it was a controlled and a good penalty, wasn't it? Meslier just couldn't get into the top corner to save it. It's frustrating because we go, from being 1-0 up going into the half time, which would have made Jesse Marsh's half-time talk a little bit different, wouldn't it? As it was, we went in 1-1. And, Jesse can't do anything about individual errors. Obviously, Pascal's given away the penalty. And then a minute into the second half, it gets worse for Leeds United. And it's Skamaka, what a name, of course it is, who puts the ball in the net. It's a fabulous finish, but Aronson obviously is to blame for this. A loose pass goes straight to Skamaka, but to be fair to Aronson, you wouldn't have probably expected him to take it on like he did and hit it first time off the post and into the net. You probably wouldn't expect that, would you? That's what he did, and we go 2-1 down in the 46th minute. And ironically, two Italians on the score sheet for, I don't know, well, for either side. I don't know the last time that this has happened. Who knows? I honestly have no idea when the last time two Italians scored in the same game. There's actually only four Italians playing in the whole of the Premier League, and half of them are actually playing for West Ham, in Ogbonna, of course, and Skamaka. The only other one, obviously, other than Nonto, is a young Chelsea lad who doesn't play at all. But yeah, there's only four in the whole league. Half of them scored last night. I think Skamaka just takes it off Nonto, doesn't he? But they were both great goals. But let me know, it's a little bit of fun fact there. When was the last time two Italian players scored in a Premier League game? And for either side, perhaps, that makes the a little bit more interesting, doesn't it? But that happened last night. And then there's a little bit of a flashpoint with Somerville for me. Probably a red card, isn't it? I think probably a red card. He's a bit lucky to get away with that one. And then it's whittling down, and I'm looking at it thinking it sounds like we're playing terrible. He brings on Harrison and Matthias Klich, and that seems to turn the tide a little bit in our favour. Klich, obviously we know it was his last game, which we'll come on to in a minute. And then it's Harrison who weaves his way a little bit through the West Ham defence, passes it on to Rodrigo, and he whips the ball quickly into the bottom corner, and then it's 2-2. Obviously, we have chances towards the end of the game. Fabianski makes a good save from Rodrigo. I think Rodrigo goes one-on-one with Fabianski as well. Probably should do better. The Polish keeper saves it. And yeah, Cooper had a chance from a corner as well. And it looked like it was all Leeds in that sort of last 20 minutes, but we just couldn't find the winner. For me, a point will always do in the Premier League for me, but if you want to get to that higher level, you have to start winning games. Look, the upshot of this one is that West Ham don't gain any ground on us. They stay behind us, 2 points behind on 15. We are on now 17 points from 17 games. I know we won't draw the remaining games, but if we did, 38 points will probably see you home. We want more than that, obviously. We want to win a game before the end of the season. I'm sure we will at some stage. But yeah, for me, no real complaints. Obviously, I didn't see the game. Let me know, obviously, like I said, if you did go to the game or see it, how we actually played. But West Ham, I know they're in a bit of a bad spell, but they're not a bad side, are they, really? The likes of Paqueta and Skamaka and Declan Rice and all those sort of players on it. They're not a bad side. And all told, like I said, any point in the Premier League, could be at home or away, is a decent point. Now, getting on to the end of the game then, and obviously we know that rumbling on for a few weeks now is the fact that Matthias Klich has this offer from DC United. Wayne Rooney's DC United, of course. I wonder if he'll have a word in his ear about that day at Pride Park. Who knows? He was celebrating in the stands, seemingly still half cooked from the night before. Wayne Rooney, of course, played for Derby on that day, but he will now coach Matthias Klich by the look of it. And it became clear after the game that this was the case. Now, let me know if you were there and did you leave? Because for me, to be fair, the club, it had been leaked. We knew he was going. So just say to the club when it becomes apparent, they could have done that before the game, to be fair. announced it, an hour or so, an hour or two before the game, say it's Mateus's last game, as a gesture of goodwill and appreciation for the Polish player who spent, 5 years now at Leeds, 5, 6 years at Leeds, stay behind and give him a good send off. The ground was half empty because other people want to get off, don't they? It's a Wednesday evening game, up early maybe for work in the morning and that sort of thing. So yeah, it'd have been a little bit better for me if the club had handled that better and just said, look, it's his last game, give him a send off that he deserves. Obviously the players did because they knew about it. They all had T-shirts with his name on the back, Klich 43, and a picture of him obviously smoking that cigar after promotion in 2020. So yeah, that was it. They all gave him a send off, a guard of honour clapping him. The fans that were left obviously singing 20 yards, 30 yards, and obviously he was in tears coming off the pitch, and he gave a heartfelt message to Leeds United and the fans, of course, on his social media. Pretty much after that, in the evening time, pretty generic. Really thanked everybody and everybody in the fans and everybody in the club, and then at the end, obviously, he told that lad Bob to F off, didn't he? Earlier on in the season, I think it was, wasn't it? He did say, "P.S. I forgive you, Bob." So, a little bit of a touch there from him, but he's been great as Mateus Klich overall. I'm not going to dwell too much on him. I mean, you put your favourite Klich moments in the comment there. He was obviously, they call it Klickhousery, didn't they? Obviously, it was shithousing. He was good at that. He was good at hitting a ball from a long distance into the net. He scored a couple of good, nice screamers from 194 games. I think 24 goals, was it? And I think something like 21 assists. So yeah, he did okay from a midfield player, but yeah, he scored some lovely goals, didn't he? And obviously scored the first goal of the Bielsa era. It was his first goal for Leeds United as well, and he did start that season extremely well in terms of goal scoring. Scored a few very quickly, and a few belters in there, obviously against Derby. Sheffield Wednesday one comes to mind. But let me know in the comments what your favourite goal for Mateus Klich was. Weighed in with a few in the Premier League. Obviously scored as well in our first game back in the Premier League in that humdinger of a match away at Anfield 4-3. He scored our last goal, I think, on that day, didn't he? Yeah, so a great sort of player. The fans really took to him. He really seemed to, and he did say in that little letter, they seemed to get him and everything. He obviously leaves his legacy outside the stadium as well with that graffiti art piece, Champions, on the wall outside Ellen Road, which he did in partnership with another graffiti artist, obviously big into his graffiti. Bit of a character, bit of a unusual character in our team, really into his alternative stuff, and seemed like a really good bloke. His football ability did wane a little bit. I think it did leave him a little bit short in these last few years. Obviously, Bielsa loved him, played nearly 100 games straight for Bielsa, didn't he? And he was great in the Championship and in that first year in the Premier League as well. Like I said, wading with a few goals. That one against Burnley in particular was pretty special. But other than that, he just started to lose a little bit of something, didn't he, as in these last couple of years. And it became apparent that he wasn't going to play much. Obviously got dropped from the World Cup side for his country, Poland, and maybe he was promised more minutes from Jesse Marsch, and it hasn't materialised like that. Although I think Marsch does seem to think he's used him a lot. But if you look at the minutes played, and he's always coming off the bench, isn't he, for the last kind of 25 minutes, maybe sometimes less. It's probably not what he wants to do, and he even said that in that little letter, didn't he? Sitting on the bench is not something he really wants to get used to or has been used to in the past. He wants to play every minute he can, and is he 31 now? It's probably a good time for him to go, and obviously, like I said, visibly upset he was, wasn't he, from from that. But why wouldn't he be? He spent a good chunk of his life here now, and obviously didn't go well to start with under Thomas Christensen in the 16-17 season. Sorry, was it no the 17-18 season? Sorry, wasn't it? He came, and then he had to go out on loan to Utrecht in Holland, and then he came back under Bielsa. Bielsa just come into charge, took over, had a look at him in pre-season, and obviously saw something that Christiansen couldn't quite bring out of Clicky. So obviously Bielsa did. I don't think Jesse Marsh has really got the best out of him, but he is, he's just not quite the player he was. He was a big engine. I think maybe all that consecutive games, has maybe taken its toll on him. He isn't the same player as what he is, but DC United, a good luck to him in America. They get a good player who is, obviously will play more than he has played for Leeds over the last couple of years. So good luck to Mateus and his family, his young family and everything going across to America. But yeah, last game obviously played a part apparently in this game and turned the tide for us. But it's been for me a little too little, too late really in that situation. And it's now 8 players from that championship winning campaign 2.5 years ago that remain in the squad. I'd like to know in the comments there, who do you think will be the next of those title winning players to depart Ellen Road? For me, it's probably a toss up between Forshaw and Liam Cooper. I don't think Liam Cooper's got so long left. To be honest, we'll come on to transfer soon, but I think transfer wise, I think they'll now start to get away from Liam Cooper and slowly sort of phase him out. But I do think Adam Forshaw is probably the next, or Patrick Bamford. Patrick Bamford will probably go in the summer. Maybe Adam Forshaw possibly will as well. I know his contract runs out in the summer, doesn't it? I think so. Maybe they're not going to renew it. Look, we need centre midfield options, don't we? And this is what I'm going to speak about now in the Rumours Round Leeds segment of the video. Yeah, so we're first of all maybe going to speak about a replacement for Klich that I've seen said in some media outlets, or some journalists have said that this man is of interest to Leeds United along with a fair amount of other Premier League sides, and that guy is goes by the name Alex Scott at Bristol City, the centre midfield player, not to be confused with the former Arsenal women's football player, now turned pundit Alex Scott. Completely different player and person, obviously. But Alex Scott, what a great player she was for Arsenal, and yeah, punditry now as well. So great stuff. But Alex Scott, the Bristol City player, only 19, born in August 2003, won't turn 20 until August. He has been, according to Ben Jacobs, we know Ben Jacobs, don't we? He sort of kept us in the loop in the summer in terms of in particular Tyler Adams, that transfer. I think he's an English bloke, but he's based in America. But he was speaking about. I've seen him tweeting about Alex Scott the day, saying that Leeds are among. I think there's about 6 other Premier League sides. I think it's Bournemouth, Brighton, Spurs, maybe Palace, and a couple of others. Maybe there's a few teams involved in the negotiations. Apparently, Bristol City have set a £12 million price tag on him, which seems doable. Only 19. But maybe he's a long-term successor for Mateus Klich. There's been a few centre midfield options suggested in the media, but I think Alex Scott might be of one that is doable for Leeds United. Let's wait and see. Let me know who you'd like to see replace Mateus Klich in centre mid. It is obvious we do need more cover there, especially now. And is it a mistake to let Klich go early, in the mid, in the winter window? Would you rather we waited until the summer to get rid of him? But let me know in the comments. Personally, I think, like I said, I think it's probably time he did move on, and I do think that Leeds will have somebody, not maybe not in the January window. I know that Marsh, I think by the sound of it, wants to use JB and Greenwood by the sound of it. So let's wait and see. But I think in the summer the squad needs a bit of surgery in that position in terms of players going out actually as well. But let's wait and see. Also, a little bit of transfer news is obviously Alfonso Pedraza, the former Leeds United player, has been linked again with Leeds over the past kind of week or so. Obviously, a Europa League winner with Villarreal. Inter Milan was said to be interested as well, but have now dropped out the race. Leeds are still interested in the Spaniard. He's 26-year-old now. Obviously, was young when he was at Leeds. He came to Leeds, I think, in January 2017, towards the obviously end of 16-17 season. I think he'd have been about 20 perhaps at the time. So he was young. He played pretty well. He scored that goal away at Birmingham on that Friday evening. I think it was a 2-0 win for Leeds that night. That was his one and only goal. And yeah, it looks like Victor Orta has kept him on his radar. He loves his fellow countrymen, obviously, doesn't he? And let's see if that has anything to do, any legs or anything. For me, if we were to get Pedraza in, that'd mean the end of Liam Cooper. You'd look at a back four of Pedraza, probably Voba, Strauch, and then Christensen with Llorente and Koch on the bench, Firpo on the bench. Then it gives you strength in depth a little bit. Obviously, Cooper on the bench as well. But I think it's time to phase out Liam Cooper. Let me know in the comments. Great guy, obviously, but football ability, I think there's better out there, and I think we'll see that, and particularly with Voba as well. I think we'll see him coming in and out of the centre back role as well. I do believe that. But let me know in the comments again what you're thinking behind that is. Also, then on the final part then of this pretty much bumper video. Is a preview to the FA Cup tie, the third round tie against Cardiff City. We go down to Wales to face the old enemy a little bit. They beat us in the Cup, didn't they? Was it 2001? Was it 2-1 at Ninian Park? And that set up a little bit of a rivalry between the two sides. Obviously, we've played them many times in the Championship. And they've had a little bit of a hold on us, over well, they used to do, maybe not so much anymore, although the last time we did play them, of course, it was at this Cardiff City Stadium where this game is to be played. It was the game when football resumed after COVID had hit, obviously in empty stadiums. We were buzzing for it to get going again. Fair to say at the end of that game we weren't. We lost the game 2-0. I think it was Hoyle and the big German fella, Glatzer, wasn't it? I think that got the goals, and we ran out with a 2-0 loss. We came back with a 2-0 defeat. I think I remember as well beating them 2-0. I think Wood and Hernandez scored. So we've had a little sort of a mixed bag of results when they've gone into this Cardiff City Stadium. Obviously, it's a FA Cup game. Cardiff, you can talk all day long about the past meetings and all that, but Cardiff in this present day are not doing very well at all. Just hovering above the relegation zone at this moment in time. And maybe the FA Cup, they'd love to knock Leeds United out of the Cup, wouldn't they? Maybe the FA Cup can serve as a bit of a distraction to them. But they've got Mark Hudson in, the former Cardiff player, the former Huddersfield player as well. Of course, spent some time in Yorkshire in his career. He's the manager there. They obviously had our old friend Steve Morrison in for a little bit. I think he saved them from relegation last season, but it hasn't gone so well this season. And on the back, I think the no wins in 7 games, turning into a little bit of a draw specialist over the last few games. But yeah, they're not really doing great. They play with a 4-2-3-1, so they'll match up Leeds United in that respect. But I do think Leeds will have just enough to see off Cardiff and get into the 4th round. Jesse Marsh will rotate his squad. He's no doubt he will do that. But I'll have a quick look at what I think will be the starting lineup. But he will rotate the squad. But I do think it's quite a nice tie this for Leeds. It's not like it was a couple of years ago where we had Crawley away, we got battered, or obviously West Ham last season. It's Championship is doable. I think anything lower than the Championship, you're kind of looking at, oh, we're probably going to lose this because they're going to be absolutely up for it. But I think Championship teams, it's not out of the ordinary for them to beat Premier League sides in the cup ties, and also I do think that they'll have their eye. It can serve as a distraction, but I think Cardiff City will have their eyes firmly placed on surviving in the Championship this season. So honestly, I think we'll change it round. I don't see it being a landslide win. Obviously, it won't be. It'll be a tight game, but I do think we'll come out on top of the scoreline. In terms of the lineup, I think we'll see similar to what we did in the Carabao Cup in November at Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think it'll probably be Robles in goal, Firpo left back. I do think we'll see a debut for Maximilian Voba at centre back, maybe alongside probably Llorente, you'd have thought, and then Ayling on the right, or maybe it will be Cody Drama. I know Drama played in for the Carabao game, didn't he? Carabao Cup match, I think he did. Then you're probably talking centre mid of Darko JB and Adam Forshaw, and then I'd say the front three behind the striker would probably be Nonto on the left. I'd say Greenwood in the 10 role and Somerville on the right, with probably Joe Gelhardt up front. Let me know if you agree with that in the comments there. But, look, I think it'll be a tight match, but I think we'll come out on top and bag ourselves a fourth round tie, which we don't usually do. We usually go out in the third round, don't we? Certainly under Bielsa, he never won a Premier League. He never won an FA Cup match, did he? So, yeah, let's see how Jesse Marsh can fare. I know what he's going to say. Oh, it's a great competition, this, that and the other. It's always the same. But let me know what you're thinking on all those points I've hit today, because we're going on for nearly half an hour now. Fair play to you if you've stuck through to the end. If you haven't, fair enough. You're not going to listen to this anyway. So, but thanks very much for watching. Let me know your comments. Subscribe if you like the content and like the video as well. But that's it from me. Marching on together. I'll see you on the next one.